all over the world. Nice. Nice to have everyone today. So we're about 3 minutes in. We're going to get started. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Thanks for being here today. Welcome to our March ServiceNow Impact Academy webinar. I know we're in April already, but this was supposed to be last week. I'm excited to show you how to improve your platform health and stability using proactive code check. Our newest feature that we just released in the Yokohama release. Here's what we have planned for today. I'll start with a high-level introduction of Proactive Code Check and why it's a game changer for developers and admins. Since this is an Academy session, we'll dive a bit deeper into how it works, the types of issues, and the key features you should know. Then we'll go through a live demo so you can see how to run checks, interpret results, and take action on flagged issues. We want this to be interactive, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we go. Before we dive into the content of this presentation, I'd like to share our safe harbor slide. This presentation may include forward-looking statements based on the information available to us today. It's important to note that any mention of future products, features, or functionality is purely for informational purposes, and these statements are not a commitment or promise to deliver specific materials, functionality, or timelines. And today's session is part of our Live on ServiceNow event series to connect you with ServiceNow experts and peers that can help you deploy your products and achieve value faster. We hope you join us again in another webinar at 360 Exchanges. You can scan the QR code to take a look at our schedule and join the series. Before we get started, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items to help you get the most out of today's session. First, we have set aside time at the end for Q&A. So please feel free to submit your questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. We'll do our best to address as many questions as possible. Second, today's session is being recorded and will be made available on the ServiceNow community. Finally, once the event concludes, you'll be prompted to fill out a short survey. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to us and helps us continue to improve these sessions. So we'd really appreciate it if you could take a few moments to share your thoughts. Now for introductions. My name is Shrey Walgray, and I'm a product manager for Impact here at ServiceNow. We also have Jeff on the call, who is also a product manager for Impact at ServiceNow. We're both excited to be here for today's webinar. Before we dive into today's session, we'd like to start off with a poll question. You'll see it pop up on your screen. Please go ahead and answer that question, and we'll get started from that. I'll leave the poll question up, but I'll continue the slides. Feel free to continue answering. I know it's a short answer question. Before we dive into Proactive Code Check, let's take a moment to briefly talk about Impact. At its core, ServiceNow Impact is designed to help you get the most out of your ServiceNow investment by combining AI-driven insights with expert guidance to drive real business outcomes. Impact is built on 4 major pillars. Value and adoption ensures you're realizing the full value of your ServiceNow capabilities with personalized recommendations and guided adoption plans. Expertise and guidance gives you access to a dedicated customer success manager and a suite of technical, architectural, and strategic accelerators to help you make smart decisions quickly. Health and observability focuses on maintaining platform health through tools like Instance Observer and the Health Assessment Dashboard and more. And now included in health and observability is the Proactive Code Check. Premium support delivers faster response times and 24/7 technical support, so your critical issues get resolved quickly and efficiently. Now, when we talk about platform health, most tools focus on identifying and resolving issues after they happen, especially in production environments. That's where tools like Instance Observer shine. But ideally, you want to catch an issue, fix issues before they reach production. This is where a proactive code check comes in. This new capability helps you shift left by scanning your code during development and identifying common misconfigurations, anti-patterns, and risky practices before they can impact your production environment. It's all about prevention, quality, and building confidence from the start. Now I'll play a quick video for our introduction.
Welcome to ServiceNow Impact. Today we'll look at Proactive Code Check. Proactive Code Check is designed to help users identify best practice violations before promoting code to higher environments. By catching issues early, this tool ensures that all code complies with best practices before reaching production, improving code quality, reducing errors, and enhancing system stability. Without the right tools, code violations can lead to errors and system instability, increased workload, and inefficiency and risk. Proactive Code Check can ensure early identification of these issues and streamlined workflows. To run a Proactive Code Check, simply click on the Proactive Code Check button on the top right. Once the scan is complete, you can see the results, including findings and checks run. Next, under Diagnostics in the Impact workspace, you can find Proactive Code Check analytics from the past 30 days. To dive deeper, visit the dashboard to track real-time analytics on best practice findings. Proactive Code Check helps prevent undetected issues, reducing debugging time and ensuring smooth deployments. Now, your team can deliver higher quality updates, save time on troubleshooting, and maintain platform stability and a reliable ServiceNow environment. Proactive Code Check empowers you to confidently build a stronger and more reliable platform. And there you have it. If you have any questions on the Impact portal, please contact your squad. Welcome to ServiceNow Impact.
So let's go through some of the stuff that was just talked about in that video. How does Proactive Code Check work? What does it do? And the following couple slides will walk us through that. And feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A, and we'll try our best to answer them. Proactive Code Check proactively identify and mitigate risks, detecting high severity issues before they reach production. This includes identifying the root cause of issues so you can improve coding standards and guidelines. You can continuously improve platform health, analyzing health trends to pinpoint areas of improvement for development teams and individual developers. You can also measure your progress in reducing technical debt and adhering to development best practices. You can enable better business decisions by showing business leaders and other stakeholders quantified improvements in platform health and providing actionable data to justify investments in training, tooling, and process changes. So how does Proactive Check actually do all of that? Proactive Check has two big parts: a code and configuration scanner that runs on Instance Scan, except that it runs on your development instance rather than your production instance. Rather than examining your full development environment, it specifically scans update sets, the collection of code and configuration changes built by your developers. This allows developers to proactively identify and resolve issues in the update sets they are working on before the update set is promoted to your test or production environment. And then on the side, it also has an analytics dashboard. This runs on your production instance and is directly integrated into the Impact Store application. This gives platform owners detailed insights into the volume of findings detected by Proactive Code Check across update sets, as well as how many of those findings are being resolved before they make it to production. To do this, Proactive Code Check automatically transfers scan data and related information from your development instance to your production instance. Because scan data is transferred to your production instance, this also allows platform owners to drill down to individual findings from the dashboard to see their status. Now let's dive a little deeper into the code and configuration scanner. Findings within the scanner are broken down into 5 different categories: security, performance, manageability, upgradability, and user experience. Each finding is also assigned a priority, either critical, high, or moderate. To generate these findings, Proactive Code Check carries out a comprehensive set of best practice checks on coding configuration, including uh, including all the things that you see on your screen. But let's take a look at what Proactive Coach is actually scanning for behind the scenes. It goes way beyond simple syntax checks. It's about reinforcing quality across every layer of the development. When you run a scan, it's looking for things that could compromise the maintainability, performance, or even the security of your instance. For example, it looks at whether your code is self-explanatory. Does it have enough metadata for someone else to pick it up later and understand what's going on? Are you relying on outdated patterns or methods that could break with a future upgrade? It also looks at how flexible your code is, flagging places where you've hard-coded values that should really be dynamic and configurable. This is huge when you think about reusability and scaling. Security is a huge focus. The scanner will surface red flags like weak access controls or exposed credentials, things that are easy to overlook in the rush of building, but that can cause serious issues down the road. And it doesn't stop at the code itself. It even looks at the user experience and how it's being handled. Are your UI messages clear and helpful? Are there opportunities to clean up the interface or improve feedback for users? Altogether, this tool acts like a second set of eyes, one that is deeply familiar with platform best practices and helps ensure that what you're building is not only functional, but also clean, secure, and future-proof. Now with the analytics dashboard, you get three different big categories. It provides a high-level overview of unresolved findings and trends over time. This dashboard helps teams track and manage platform health more effectively by focusing on key insights. We take a look at percentage of finding resolved. This metric shows that the current percentage of unresolved findings and provides a trend analysis over time. The trend line helps visualize whether the resolution rate is improving or declining. Additionally, the trend indicator highlights shifts from the previous period, allowing teams to gauge their progress in addressing issues. Unresolved findings. This section provides a total number of unresolved findings, also with a trend analysis to track changes over time. By monitoring these trends, teams can also identify whether issues are accumulating or being resolved effectively. Just like the previous metric, the trend indicator highlights key shifts from the previous last reporting, also helping teams stay proactive. And then there's also unresolved findings by category. Here, the unresolved findings are broken down into categories, helping teams prioritize and address issues efficiently. They break them down into security risks, performance issues, maintainability concerns, upgradability challenges, user experience impacts. The categorization allows teams to focus on critical areas that need the most attention and align their efforts with business priorities. Now, how do you get access to all of this? And how do you leverage Proactive Code Check with Impact? So first, Proactive Code Check is only available to customers who have upgraded to the Impact Store application as part of the Yokohama release. This ensures that only customers leveraging the latest capabilities of Impact can take advantage of the Proactive Safeguard. Building on that, we've integrated Proactive Code Check into the Impact Health Store application, which is designed to support platform health and adherence to best practices. This means that customers can proactively detect and resolve code issues, preventing them from escalating into performance or stability problems. For developers, Proactive Code Check can be executed on update sets in non-production instances. This means that you can scan for issues before pushing changes live, reducing the risk of technical problems making their way into production. This ensures a smoother deployment process with fewer incidents. And finally, Proactive Code Check supports multiple instance synchronization. This means it enables synchronization between production and non-production instances, while allowing results to be viewed in the platform help dashboard. However, before using these capabilities, an initial trust relationship must be established between the production and non-production instances. Now we'll switch over to Jeff for a quick demo.
All right. A lot of great questions coming in, folks. Just keep those coming, especially through this demo. Want to make sure you guys leave feeling that you know exactly what this tool can do, how to get access to it, and how to actually implement it within your business workflows. So let me steal your screen share here, Sheree, and I'll walk us through a handful of steps. So, like Sheree mentioned, there's two major parts to this proactive code check feature. One is enabling your development teams to start scanning their update sets for best practices in the development instance. So while they're actually writing the code, while they're making the configuration changes, well before they actually go to deploy, we want to make sure that we have best practices in line and we're not promoting technical data. The second part of this is aggregated reporting. So as a platform owner or an admin, you're very interested in tracking how your development teams are doing in their preventative methods for technical debt. And if you are seeing the trends that you would expect, I want to see more findings resolved. I want to see less findings going unresolved. And then ultimately, your development teams are going to start becoming more efficient as they're introduced to these best practices throughout their day-to-day workflows. So let's start with the development experience. So I'm logged in here in one of our development instances. I'm on the local update sets screen here. And let's say I'm working with this particular update set. So again, I'm a developer. I'm making changes to a handful of business rules and client scripts within this particular update set. You can see I've kind of already been playing with it, so we've got some results here already. So what you'll first notice is that on the update set, there's a new page layout that you can implement, which will include two new tabs, one for the findings associated to the scans. Then the results are essentially each time you run a scan will create a results record, and then the findings are then related to the individual results. So as I've been in here playing with this, you can see I've actually scanned this update set 7 times, and I still currently have 8 findings open. But let's kind of start from the top. Let's say I'm ready to check this update set against best practices. Once the Impact Store application is installed in your sub-production or your development environments, you'll see a new UI action on the update set record called Proactive Code Check. And when your development teams and users click this button, it will actually leverage the instance scan engine on platform and run the specific suite that is packaged with the Impact Store application, which contains all of our best practices and checks right here on the instance. So we're not calling out to another instance. It's all being executed right here within your domain. So you can see here the scan is completed. It's found those 8 findings. I can go to the result, or I can actually just close this and refresh the screen here to stay on the update set itself. And then again, now that we have this new page layout, the findings that were associated to that scan are going to be populated here. So it looks like I have 8 best practice violations across various different best practice checks. The finding details column is going to show your developers exactly what line the violation was on. So you can see here, this one around business rules should not update or insert on other tables. There's actually 2 violations here on lines 6 and line 8. If I want more information as a developer on how to resolve any of these best practices, you can see here on the far right, we have a documentation URL. So all of our checks are accompanied by a best practice document, which will walk your development teams through how to actually go and resolve these issues. So let's say, I want to, there's a script that should not contain a hard-coded ID. It's found here in this particular source. So let's open up this source and see what we're working with here. If it will cooperate. 1 second. All right. So in this test environment, you can see here, I have a hard-coded ID. So what I'm going to do is just comment this out. I'm going to update this record. And then when I go back to my update set, I'm going to rerun this scan. I want to validate that I've actually corrected that issue. So I've saved the change. I've commented out my hard-coded ID in this test example. I'm going to rerun this check. And it's going to, again, check this update set, all the content within it against that particular of our best practice suites. And you can see now I have 7. So that that individual finding on the hard-coded ID was resolved. And now I can focus my attention on resolving the rest of these individual findings. So as your development teams are going through this, they'll kind of work through resolution. They'll be able to manage and see all of the results, all of the finding details, all the resolution steps right here on their update set without having to go, into different applications. And they can all, ideally they're fixing these before they're moving these up into a higher environment. Let me quickly pause and see if we have any questions I can quickly answer in the chat or Q&A related to this portion of
Hey
the
Jeff, there
demo.
was a quick ask on, we'll be able to demonstrate how the multi-instance framework works.
Good question. I will be able to speak to it in this particular demo. I won't be able to show it. But really the multi-instance framework is helping behind the scenes, but great question. I'll speak to that here in 1 minute. There it is. Good question on multi-instance sync. It looks like all the other questions were answered. So what I'll do is I'll keep moving forward. If you do have additional questions on the development side of this feature, just definitely drop those in the Q&A and we'll circle back to those. Okay, so development's done. They're kind of on their workflow. They're coding, resolving the best practices in the development instance. What we are able to do also in the Impact workspace is in the new platform health dropdown under the diagnostics page, we will have high-level statistics on the results of the scans that your development teams are performing. So there's a question here on multiple instance sync. We do allow for the aggregation of scan results across multiple development instances, which would then be aggregated and reported on in a primary or production instance. So if you can imagine, I'm logged in here to a production instance, and over here we are in a development instance. Leveraging the multi-instance framework, we'll be able to aggregate all of the finding details from our development instances, move them up into our production instance for reporting. So you as an admin, you as a platform owner, don't have to bounce around into those individual development instances to view the results. You can see everything here in a consolidated, concise dashboard within your primary or your production instance. Hopefully that answers at a high level the question on multi-instance, and we can certainly point you guys to all the documentation once we finish the session today. So with that, again, I'm logged in here now. I've kind of changed roles. I'm no longer a developer. Kind of, consider me a platform owner or an admin here, responsible for managing the overall health of the instance. I can see here on the diagnostics overview past 30 days how these are performing. And you can see here, I've resolved 13% of the findings, 7 are left unresolved. And I can quickly see a breakdown of where these 7 unresolved issues are broken out categorically. So one's related to upgradability, 3 on performance, and a handful on manageability as well. So let's dive in, go to the actual dashboard and see a handful of additional metrics related to proactive code check. First of all, I have the ability to select one or many instances. This is where that concept of multi-instance framework comes into play. So if I have multiple development instances, I can view them aggregated, or I can kind of one-off view them and see how those teams that are working on, DevBox 1 compared to DevBox 2 are performing. So that's number one. Also, what we'll be able to do is trend this data over the last 6 months. So I can see, on a time series basis, how these teams are performing over time. So whether you want to do, you can do a review on a sprint cadence. So maybe there was a sprint that ran, is running right now, let's say from the 2nd into the 15th. You'll be able to report on the data specific to that time range, again, all the way back to 6 months. On the first section here, we're looking at prevented findings. So how has your team been working to actually prevent and resolve these issues before the update sets are moved to a completed or deployed state? We get a count of how many update sets have been performed, update set scans have been performed. Of those, how many checks or how many best practice violations were detected or findings detected here? Of those, what's the percentage of resolution, and what's the counts of resolution? So you can see here, we're only resolving 13%. We've only resolved one, but maybe this is first day of the sprint, so the team has some additional time to work on those. I can view it again by category. So the one that we resolved in that example was in the manageability section, and it was a high priority. So our development teams are focusing on the right issues. They're resolving these high potential technical debt issues in development before moving it up to a higher environment. Further down the dashboard, we're looking at unresolved findings. So these are items that are not these findings are not in a resolved state. So they're still open. So you can see I have 88% of all findings still open. That's 7 as far as the count goes. And then if you guys are familiar with exceptions, the instance scan also supports making exceptions or muting findings, essentially saying like this finding is not important to us. We don't necessarily want to track it, or it's on a inactive record or whatever it might be. You have the ability to mute those as well. And we're tracking that here for you as a platform owner too. So let's, again, broken down by category. You can see, again, that split of the 7 findings on their categories, and then also priority. So you can see here, I've actually got 2 critical findings that are currently unresolved. So if I am a platform owner or admin, I'm interested in learning more about these 2 findings. So what I can do is go over here to view all findings to see all of the history of all of the findings that have been generated through the proactive code scan process. I can see the state that they're in. So there's that one that we resolved in our previous example. Priority category, the update set that it was actually associated to, actual source ID. And then if you wanted to personalize these lists, you have all of this information that's available to you as the platform owner or admin to really start understanding, where these issues are coming from, how they are concentrated. Are we seeing, concentrations in one finding or another? So let's go back here. I wanted to quickly group on priority to take a look at these 2 critical ones. So it looks like I have 2 findings in the critical category. Again, it came back from this source ID, so I should be able to track this back down to the actual individual who's working on this update set and help them kind of resolve this issue so that number one, we're not repeating and continuing to repeat offend on these best practices, and then we can resolve any technical debt that's kind of made its way up through the stack. So there's a lot of information that you'll be able to derive from looking at this particular view. And again, this is available in your primary instance, and you can connect multiple instances leveraging that leveraging the multi-instance framework. Quickly pause again, take a look at these questions. Sorry, I have a tough time finding the questions in the presentation mode. Max, Ray, anyone standing out that we want to answer quickly live? Thank you, Max. I see that one answered live. Is this service?
We should talk about the Impact Health app. So it's actually Impact. When you download Impact, you get everything. I think that was a question that Nathan has asked. Is that just the Impact Health app, right? I would say it's packaged all together under Impact.
So let's see if I have a quick breakdown of that. Yeah, so Max, great explanation there. Ultimately, what the Impact Store application will do is install multiple applications as dependencies underneath it, which the Impact Health app is actually one of those. I'm trying to find where we might break this down on our docs. But what we can do is we can point you guys to the appropriate documentation for that. But long story short, when you install the Impact Store application, it will also install a series of dependent plugins and applications, one of which is the Impact Health app, which contains all of the logic and our best practice checks that we kind of just went through. And leveraging the concept of scope depth, is there a way to show these findings by scope? That is a good question. I might have to follow back with you on that to see if we're currently capturing that data or if it's data that we can grab. Let me follow up with that question on scoped apps. So ultimately, you're looking for which application it's coming from. Yeah. Okay. All right, Shrey, I might pass the ball back over to you unless we have any other thoughts or areas we want to cover.
Jeff, a quick question on multi-instance.
Yes.
Did we cover that? Yeah.
Is there a new question on that? Hold on, sorry.
No, not at all. I think maybe the question of how the dashboard works is it can pull from multi-subprod instances to a single instance.
Yeah, so the dashboard can be set up to pull from multiple sub-production instances via the multi-instance framework. Now, one point to note, and this is in our documentation as well, the multi-instance framework is dependent on the Yokohama release. So if you want to do aggregated reporting across multiple development instances and bring all of those finding results up into a single reporting instance here like production, you will need to upgrade to Yokohama. But you can still leverage the scanning functionality if you're on the Xanadu release. So I think there was a question on that as well. So scanning functionality fully supported in Xanadu. In order to move multiple instances, sub-production instances data through multi-instance framework up to the reporting dashboard, that will require the Yokohama release. Is this application included with the regular Impact subscription? Yes, this is. It's available to all Impact tiers, guided, advanced, and total. And there definitely will be a recording of this session made available. All right.
Rami, is this is with the regular Impact subscription? Yeah, it's part of the Impact base guided subscription, and so it's already part of that. I don't know if that was answered. Sorry, I'm trying to get both questions.
All right.
Okay.
That's right. Back to you.
Over. Awesome. So thanks for that wonderful demo. And for those asking about Impact Academy recordings, I'll share that link shortly. We have another set of poll questions. I'm going to launch that now. Please answer those as it helps us improve our product. And as you guys are answering those, I'll take you through some upcoming slides. So there are some more resources that will be linked to the slide, and I'll share the link to where this recording will be posted. This will be our, where to get started with ServiceNow Impact, our Impact product docs, and then we have some more proactive code check related docs as well, best practices, and then introduction article in our community. So these are some resources we have now. We're consistently growing the amount of resources that we're putting out there to help our customers. And then this is where you can probably find all the questions that are on links and everything. So this is where this will take you to the Impact community, and then the more about ServiceNow University and the expert services community as well. We're gonna publish this this recording and the slides on our community and where you signed up for this event. I know there was a question about how often do these Impact Academy calls take place. We generally do once a month. There are some blackout months, like when we have knowledge or Christmas break or Thanksgiving, but we do tend to hold these once a month.